The story begins with our main character, Tomoya Tsuchida, a college freshman who has one clear dream: to get a girlfriend. Back in high school, he was at the bottom of the social ladder and never dated anyone. His only friends were other guys, and they constantly reminded each other that none of them had any luck with girls. 3 months into university, someone has already caught his attention: Waka Sakuraba. One morning, she greets him cheerfully and mentions that they both have their first class during the second period. She is also a freshman in the same major and part of the same club. Tomoya sees this as another morning blessed by her presence. When she mentions visiting the club room after class, he says he has no other plans and will likely stop by. She casually adds that she might join him if he goes. This immediately makes him blush, and a light sweat forms on his brow. After she says goodbye and leaves, he watches her go, thinking her cuteness might actually be dangerous for his heart. Their first meeting happened back in April, at the start of the school year. Tomoya had decided to join a campus club to improve his chances of getting a girlfriend. He noticed a banner for the Sunny Travel Club and thought it suited him since he enjoys traveling. While checking it out, Waka approached him and asked if he was a member. Her appearance instantly struck him as cute. He explained that he was a freshman interested in joining. She responded excitedly, saying she was also new and loved traveling. Her sparkling eyes left a strong impression on him. At that moment, he decided he would definitely join, especially if someone like her was part of it. It became his experience of love at first sight. After that encounter, he made steady efforts to get closer to her. He often started conversations. He also suggested working together on assignments. Thanks to his persistence, talking with her now feels natural and comfortable. One day, as he watches her leave, his best friends suddenly appear and call out to him, startling him. They comment on how well things seem to be going with Waka. One of them says his efforts have clearly paid off and that Waka-san is quite a catch. They describe her as kind, cute, and comforting to be around. Even her slightly spacey nature only adds to her charm. To them, she feels almost angelic. One friend suggests that Tomoya should confess soon, but he insists it is too early. They warn him that waiting too long might give someone else the chance to confess first. They remind him how popular she is among both classmates and club members. As they leave, they tease him about his inexperience, prompting him to shout back in protest. Deep down, he admits he really wants a girlfriend. If only confessing were easier. Recently, they have been getting closer. Maybe, just maybe, his feelings will be returned. If only he had the courage to say it. Later, he arrives at the club room and greets the members already there. The travel club mainly organizes 2 big domestic trips each year. Members also gather regularly in the club room. During breaks, they plan small outings nearby, making it a relaxed and friendly group. As people chat, one member mentions that his usual conversation partner is absent. Tomoya decides to wait, expecting Waka to arrive soon. However, time passes and members begin leaving. When Waka still does not show up, he prepares to head home as well. Just as he steps out, she suddenly arrives. The surprise makes him lose his balance. He stumbles forward, and his hand accidentally lands on her, making her visibly uncomfortable. He immediately pulls back and apologizes repeatedly, blaming his own clumsiness. She quickly reassures him not to worry. When she adds that it is fine because it was him, he is completely stunned. Her response gives him hope. Maybe she really does like him. For a moment, he feels confident that confessing might actually work. Tomoya gathers his courage and begins to speak. His face turns red as he tries to express the feelings he has carried since the beginning. He clenches his fist, urging himself to say it. In the end, he stops midway and claims he suddenly remembered something urgent. As he walks away, he tells himself he knew this would happen. There is no way he could actually confess. His 18 years of never having a girlfriend have made moments like this feel overwhelming. On his way back, he scolds himself for being a coward. Reaching into his pocket, he realizes his phone is missing. He assumes he left it in the club room. He returns, but feels too awkward to face Waka again so soon. Instead, he quietly peeks inside. Waka is there, staring at her phone. From the doorway, he can see her watching something on the screen. Then, her voice breaks the silence. She suddenly says she is seriously tired of this situation. Tomoya freezes, growing increasingly uneasy as he continues to watch. He watches through the doorway as Waka continues speaking in an entirely different tone. She complains about how constantly maintaining a smile makes her face hurt, and how exhausting that cute, soft voice becomes. She grumbles about playing the airhead role being hard work, then shifts her attention to that virgin who seemed completely ready to confess before backing out. She declares he will stay like that, no matter how much time passes if he keeps acting that way. Her words leave Tomoya frozen in shock. She continues, noting that getting all tongue-tied remains only natural since she is so cute. She briefly slips back into that sweet voice before suddenly reverting to it entirely. She politely inquires whether something seems wrong in that innocent tone. He needs to understand what just happened. She appeared to transform into a completely different person all of a sudden. She maintains her innocent act while questioning what he means. The situation thoroughly freaks him out, and he pushes the door open to leave, announcing his intention to go home. However, she quickly closes the door and moves closer, demanding to know whether he saw everything. She locks the door behind them while he stands there utterly clueless about what comes next. Waka mentions she has been wondering about something for a while now. She directly asks whether he likes her. He stammers and denies it, but she presses on, pointing out that he was attempting to confess earlier. When she asks what exactly he likes about her, he nervously responds that she seems cute and kind. Her expression shifts as she reveals her disappointment. That personality remains completely fake. She drops the act entirely, reverting to her normal personality and leaving him in shock. He cannot process this revelation. The person he has been talking to all this time was merely a character she created. That cute wife persona and all her previous behavior were just an act she performed. The crushing realization hits him. Did he actually do something that would make her fall for him like that? She responds with a frown, explaining that messing with guys like him proves far too entertaining. Her laughter fills the room as she admits finding it really fun since virgins remain super easy targets. He recognizes this as pure evil, asking whether she has just been toying with him this entire time. He wonders if he somehow made her angry and moves closer, threatening to tell the others about her true nature. She calmly responds by suggesting he go ahead, then pulls out her phone. She mentions she might as well inform everyone what happened earlier, displaying the photograph from that moment. He demands to know when she took that picture. She laughs, saying his expression was too good to resist, and points out that his reaction made his lack of experience obvious. He cannot believe this situation is actually happening. She muses about sending the image to the group chat or perhaps their major department's chat. He screams internally, realizing his dream of getting a girlfriend in college will simply end here. Tomoya concedes defeat, promising not to tell anyone about the real her if she agrees not to expose him. She smirks and accepts this arrangement, confirming not even a peep will escape. He agrees uneasily, thinking bitterly about having been in love with a woman like this. His trust in women has completely evaporated. He wonders whether he can leave now, but she stops him, mentioning she actually has a favor to request. She poses it as a question about whether he will listen to her. His confusion intensifies that this cannot possibly be good. Waka brings our dude to a ramen shop, which puzzles him initially. She explains her hunger as the simple reason for choosing this location. He immediately worries she plans to make him cover her meal, which seems excessive. She clarifies that paying for food herself was never in question. The favor involves something different. She mentions always wanting to try this shop's ramen, which explains why she invited him along. He feels relieved, learning she will not force him to drain his savings. She responds with mock offense, questioning what kind of person he thinks she is. Tomoya reflects on the situation while she slurps down her ramen. The image of her eating this way completely contradicts her fake personality. It makes it impossible for her to visit this place with other club members. He wonders whether her personality facade really matters when it comes to eating ramen, since food remains just food. She insists it does matter because she has established that oily food does not agree with her character. He suggests she could simply come alone, but she refuses outright. The thought of being a lone woman at the counter horrifies her. Any classmate spotting her would destroy her carefully constructed image. He observes how far she takes this entire charade. Just then, his friends from the club arrive at the shop. One of them notices both Tomoya and Waka sitting together. Tomoya feels shock wash over him as his friends approach, curious about their presence here. The friends mention hearing great things about this place from various sources and wonder why the two of them happen to be together. Waka smoothly explains that Tomoya desperately wanted to eat here, so she accompanied him. She turns to him for confirmation. He immediately backs up her story, agreeing that he invited her. His friends criticize him for inviting a girl he likes to a ramen shop since no girl actually wants to eat at such a place. They whisper this harsh assessment to him while departing, suggesting he should just sit and enjoy his food. Tomoya internally protests that she was the one who actually invited him. Waka points out how their presence together now appears as though she merely tagged along with him. He finds her unbelievable, thinking what an irritating woman she turns out to be. She ties up her hair with visible excitement, declaring she can finally enjoy her long-awaited meal. She starts eating the noodles enthusiastically, exclaiming how incredibly good they taste. Her eyes sparkle with genuine happiness as she savors each bite. Tomoya watches her eat and thinks her earlier statements must have been true. He never could have imagined her eating something like this before. She notices his staring and inquires whether something seems wrong. He mentions how thoroughly she slurps down the noodles. She continues eating without pause, questioning whether he has a problem with her eating style. He denies any issue, though internally he remains angry about everything. Despite his frustration, something about the situation feels acceptable. She orders a noodle refill, and he comments on her substantial appetite. Later, as they walk back, she raves about how delicious the meal was and confirms the shop definitely deserved its reputation. She adds that visiting with her friends would be impossible, so this arrangement worked out perfectly. He never has anything going on anyway, she notes. He protests weakly that while he did have free time, her assumption bothers him. He questions why she works so hard to maintain this fake personality. She reasons that this approach makes life more interesting. By always acting kind and cute, she ensures that everyone likes her, which makes things easier for her. She even admits she can easily influence inexperienced guys this way. Tomoya wonders if hiding her true self like this is really okay. She insists everything is fine because her true self proves to. She stops mid-sentence, leaving the thought incomplete. He presses her about what she meant to say, but she brushes it off. She suggests he must feel crushed learning who she really is underneath. He confirms feeling completely heartbroken by the revelation. She responds that this reaction makes perfect sense. He reflects on their past interactions, noting how bubbly she always seemed, which left him clueless about her actual thoughts. Looking back now, their conversations remained only at surface level throughout. Today marks the first time he feels like they had a proper conversation. He acknowledges what a huge shock this has been and how much it has hurt him. Yet talking to her now somehow feels easier than before. This realization really annoys him though. They continue walking their separate ways home. Waka thinks about his comment regarding how talking to her has become easier. She wonders why he had to say something like that, and her face flushes slightly. She tells herself that his words do not make her happy while looking at his picture saved on her phone. Tomoya processes the devastating reality that Waka, the girl he has been admiring all this time, has been faking her entire personality. She actually operates as a devious fraud. He mourns the loss of what he believed was a sweet angel. She turned out to be more of a mischievous devil instead. All his efforts up until now seem completely wasted. He tried so hard to get closer to her, only to discover her personality was fabricated. Just thinking about this situation makes his blood boil. He wants those 3 months back that he lost to this woman. The fact that he was simping so intensely for someone like her seems unbelievable now. Even worse, she noticed his feelings, which makes everything even more mortifying. The next day, Waka suddenly appears from behind and greets him enthusiastically, acting as though nothing has changed. He refuses to respond, which prompts her to complain about being ignored. He questions why she talks to him like nothing happened. He expected she would avoid him after yesterday's revelations. She pauses briefly before noting that he remains angry about what occurred. He confirms anyone would feel upset in his position. She apologizes for not being honest and claims what she told him yesterday was actually a cover. The part about messing with him was entirely a lie. This shocks him momentarily. She begins to explain that the truth is actually, but then reveals she was just kidding. He curses her lack of trustworthiness as they walk away. He thinks bitterly about already knowing her real self, yet she still managed to fool him again. A friend from their club appears and calls out to Waka, who immediately switches to her cutesy personality while greeting and chatting. Tomoya realizes she just transformed personalities in an instant. The friend inquires about the report due today, and Waka confirms she completed it without difficulty. The friend mentions finding it quite challenging despite the seemingly manageable word count requirement and turns to Tomoya for his perspective. He makes a shocked expression as reality hits him. The friend notices his distress and questions whether he forgot about the assignment. He admits he completely forgot to check his assignments yesterday since his head was full of other concerns. The friend worries about whether he will manage and suggests Waka might help him. Waka smiles and agrees enthusiastically, offering to help him get it done. He thanks her while internally recognizing she is totally faking this generous attitude. The friend mentions needing to rush to her work shift and wishes them luck before departing. In the library media room, Waka assists Tomoya with his assignment. She urges him to work quickly since the 800-word requirement remains achievable if he starts immediately. She points out which sections to reference for covering most of the required summary length. He asks in disbelief whether she actually plans to help him with this. She confirms she promised to help earlier. He questions whether she was just pretending when she made that offer. She maintains that helping with something like this represents no big deal. She wears an innocent expression while claiming to be naturally nice. He thinks no one would describe her that way if they knew her real personality, but she immediately reminds him that time is running short. He reconsiders his initial assessment. While she deceives others, making her seem like the worst kind of person, maybe she is not actually so terrible. She continues helping him complete his work. Once the report reaches completion, he uploads it to the university portal and expresses relief that the ordeal has ended. She reminds him this success came thanks to her assistance and expects gratitude. He thanks her briefly. After thinking for a moment, she suggests he should buy her lunch at the cafe as proper thanks. He realizes this was her goal all along, but agrees, stipulating she orders something inexpensive. She agrees readily, and they proceed to the cafe. While eating, Waka comments on how food paid for by a virgin tastes so much better. He complains about her expensive order, but she insists she simply got what she wanted to eat. He feels completely overwhelmed by her controlling nature. Silence settles between them as they walk back. She mentions feeling stuffed while he laments his wasted food budget. She questions what he means by waste since eating lunch with a girl should make him happy. He denies feeling any happiness whatsoever. She mentions having a third-period class and departs after saying this. As she turns back, he thanks her for lunch. Standing there alone, he finds himself somewhat annoyed at how difficult she makes it to hate her. Just then, Waka bumps into someone and immediately apologizes. The other person also apologizes, but when she recognizes him, shock crosses her face. They exchange glances, and the person turns out to be Hariyama, the third-year president of the traveling club. He greets her warmly, then notices Tomoya and comments on the coincidence of finding them both here. He mentions bringing some special Vietnamese souvenirs for Waka. She thanks him enthusiastically and inquires whether he just returned from Vietnam. He confirms his recent arrival, which shocks Tomoya since the president went overseas just recently. Hariyama mentions last month's trip being tremendously fun. The president demonstrates his extreme love for traveling through his enthusiastic manner. His desire to have more friends who share this passion motivated him to create the club last year. He encourages both of them to utilize their free time for more traveling. He waxes poetic about the joys of visiting new places, learning about different cultures, meeting local people, and experiencing the romantic aspects of travel appeal to him greatly. He believes college life must include time to enjoy the wonder of traveling, which explains why he established the traveling club. Everyone can have fun traveling together this way. He puts his arm around both their shoulders while speaking. Tomoya recalls their first meeting when the president's enthusiasm was equally overwhelming. He thanks them both for joining his club. As the president walks with Waka discussing various topics, a girl appears from behind calling out the president's name. She warns him about scaring the first years. The president recognizes her as Amamiya Suzuko, a third-year member of the traveling club. She questions what he is doing here since she has not seen him around lately and wonders if he went somewhere again. The president admits to leaving for just a few days. Next year will be very busy, so he wants to travel every chance he gets this year. Suzuko warns that constantly skipping classes like this might result in him repeating another year. This embarrasses him as he smiles sheepishly. He is indeed repeating his third year due to skipping classes last year. Suzuko then turns to Tomoya and apologizes for their president getting a little too enthusiastic. While watching him, she notices he looks exhausted with dark circles under his eyes. She inquires whether something happened, and he attributes it to not sleeping much yesterday. In reality, Waka's shocking revelation kept him awake, though he keeps this thought to himself. Suzuko presses on, asking whether something is bothering him. He denies any problems, but she moves closer to examine him more carefully. He blushes as her face comes so close to his. She comments on his flushed face while he internally panics about her chest being so close to him right now. He insists everything is fine, and she accepts this, but reminds him to reach out if he encounters any troubles. He agrees quickly. Suzuko then checks on Waka before departing with the president for their third-period class. Tomoya thinks about how stressful that interaction felt since he lacks experience talking with beautiful girls like her. Watching her go, he reflects on her beauty and how completely different she seems compared to Waka. She represents the type of mature and fashionable woman one can only encounter in college. Her graceful demeanor and confident presence create an entirely different impression. The way she carries herself feels sophisticated and worldly, marking a clear contrast to Waka's fabricated cuteness. He turns back to Waka, who wears a serious expression on her face. He questions what is wrong, and she confronts him about being so nervous while talking to that beautiful senior. She presses him about the reason behind his nervousness, and he immediately shuts down the conversation, denying everything. He reminds her about having a third-period class and suggests she should hurry. She agrees and departs, leaving Tomoya confused about why she seemed angry. He has no idea what triggered that reaction. Just then, the president calls out to both Tomoya and Waka, mentioning he almost forgot about the cherry-picking picnic scheduled for tomorrow. He reminds them to wear something easy to move around in before leaving them both confused about what cherry-picking actually involves. The next morning, our lad finds Waka dressed beautifully for the outing. Tomoya's friends watch her arrival and admire her cuteness, noting how peaceful she makes them feel. One compares her appearance to the spirit of the cherry garden itself. Our main character stands behind them, thinking these guys have never experienced her real side. The president arrives wearing a cherry-themed top and expresses excitement about the day ahead. He enthusiastically declares cherry picking as super awesome and urges everyone to share his enthusiasm. He explains how the seasonal transition from spring to summer brings cherry season, allowing them to enjoy cherry-based foods together with friends. Tomoya's friend questions why he seems so happy recently and suggests he back off a little. The president clarifies that today's club activity centers on picking cherries. The previous day, when the president announced tomorrow's picnic, Tomoya inquired about cherry picking. Waka reminded him about their agreement to participate in this activity. Thinking back further, last week the president had announced plans for their second club trip that's a cherry blossom viewing party, and requested attendees to raise their hands. Waka raised her hand immediately, and Tomoya followed suit. He was thinking automatically that wherever she goes, he will also go. He reflects on raising his hand without even thinking, simply because she committed to attending. Waka wonders whether he has truly forgotten that day. Back at the cherry garden, Tomoya's friend complains about only 3 of them eating cherries together, finding the situation rather lame. He questions Tomoya about not hanging out with Waka. Tomoya responds defensively, and his friend points out that usually any chance like this would find him hovering around her. Tomoya thinks back to when he remained unaware of her true nature. His friend criticizes him for acting pathetic and cowardly. Tomoya begins to protest that she is actually different, but before he can explain further, Waka arrives with her cute expression and inquires what is happening. He becomes embarrassed upon seeing her and smiles awkwardly. She requests to borrow Tomoya for a moment from his friends, who readily agree. She pulls him away and reminds him about keeping her secret. He claims it was accidental, but she screams about nearly ruining her perfect girl image. He questions whether she considers herself a celebrity now. She threatens to upload that photo, which makes him immediately apologize and promise it will never happen again. She accepts this resolution and suggests picking cherries sounds more enjoyable. Waka samples a cherry and declares it delicious while he remains silent. She notices his lack of participation and questions whether he plans to eat any. He confirms his intention to eat them. She plucks a cherry from the tree and claims this particular one looks especially delicious. She offers it to him and instructs him to open his mouth. He opens his mouth in confusion, but she pulls the cherry back and changes her mind. He realizes she is teasing him again since his body automatically reacted. He suggests that even without his presence, she would simply tease others instead. She seems puzzled by this comment. He elaborates that if she just wants to tease virgins, she should target his friends, since he already knows her real personality. Teasing people unaware of her true nature would prove funnier. She takes a moment to process this before agreeing with a serious expression and departing. He wonders why she suddenly became angry. Suzuko appears and greets Tomoya, inquiring whether he is having fun. He mentions their luck with the beautiful weather today. She agrees and comments on the scenery being as lovely as an angel. He watches her carefully as she calls his name and moves closer, mentioning she has something to tell him personally. He agrees nervously, wondering why she sits so close. Her proximity makes him anxious, and her pleasant scent distracts him. She whispers in his ear that his pants zipper remains wide open. This mortifies him completely, and he immediately turns away to zip it up while apologizing and thanking her. She laughs and apologizes for not mentioning it earlier. He turns back feeling utterly humiliated and wishing he could disappear. Suzuko then stands on a step and shares that cherries at the top taste the best. He shows interest in this fact. She explains that it is due to increased sunlight exposure and points out a pair of twin cherries growing together. He agrees they look impressive. She bites into one, and he watches, thinking that both the cherries and her appearance make a dangerous combination. She offers him one, and he accepts it gratefully while thinking how mature she seems compared to Waka. Afterwards, she announces that she is heading to another area. From a distance, Waka watches them with a serious expression. Tomoya reflects on Suzuko's kindness but warns himself not to be fooled again. He believes a girl's kindness might just be an act. However, when he sees Suzuko greeting Chiho-chan and asking about her well-being, he begins to reconsider. She genuinely seems thoughtful. She carries herself like a mature adult and maintains a stylish appearance. Compared to her, Waka feels like the only one who behaves differently. Waka suddenly appears and apologizes. He apologizes as well, then asks what is bothering her. She points out that he looked very happy earlier. He questions what she means by that. She clarifies that he seemed to enjoy talking with Suzuko. He thinks there is no way he can admit that Suzuko was simply telling him his pants zipper was open. Waka would definitely laugh at him, so he brushes it off as nothing important. She looks a little sad, but accepts his answer. Trying to change the topic, he shares what he learned about cherries growing higher on the tree, tasting better. She shows interest in this and listens closely. He gives Suzuko credit for the information. Waka acknowledges it and decides to pick some high cherries herself. She climbs up a ladder to reach a good-looking cherry. Tomoya looks up cautiously and realizes the angle almost reveals her undergarments. As she comments on how red the cherry looks, he immediately assumes she is teasing him again. A moment later, he realizes she truly has no idea about her position. A passerby glances up at her and starts staring toward her skirt. Tomoya notices this and quickly tells Waka to stop climbing higher. She protests, insisting she wants to reach cherries from an even greater height. He tries to warn her about her skirt, but she does not understand at first. When it finally clicks, she becomes embarrassed and demands to know where he has been looking. He tries to defend himself, but she cuts him off and says her shorts underneath make it completely fine. Suddenly, her foot slips from the ladder. She loses her balance and falls backward, squeezing her eyes shut. When she opens them, she realizes she has landed directly in his lap. Both of them freeze in complete shock. Tomoya becomes acutely aware of how close they are standing. She looks fragile next to him, almost delicate. When he puts his hand on her shoulder to steady her, he catches the scent of her hair, which makes his heart skip. As she stands up, he quickly checks if she's hurt. She answers softly, apologizing as color rises in her cheeks. She's fine, just thankful he caught her. His reaction was purely instinctive, nothing more. He turns away quickly, muttering that he's glad she's okay, telling her to be more careful. After he leaves, she stays frozen in place, fidgeting nervously with the fabric of her skirt. The embarrassment washes over her in waves. President Daiichi's voice suddenly cuts through the moment. He calls for Tomoya, reminding him they need to start getting ready soon. The words jolt Tomoya back to reality. Time is moving faster than he thought. Before he can take another step, Waka comes up from behind and grabs his shirt sleeve. When he turns around, confusion written across his face, she thanks him quickly for earlier, her cheeks burning bright red. Before he can respond, before he can say anything at all, she runs away, stammering that she has to leave right now. Tomoya stands frozen, replaying what just happened. Something about the way she acted feels real and honest, unguarded. If she keeps acting like this, he might really start to like her, but he catches himself immediately. He can't let himself think that way. She lied to him before and hurt him deeply, so he won't let that happen again. His friends show up moments later. One immediately asks about his talk with Waka, eyebrows raised knowingly. He brushes it off with a shrug, saying nothing important happened. They exchange glances and begin teasing him relentlessly, even as he keeps insisting it's not what they think. The thought creeps in unbidden. Does she act this way with them too when he's not around? The idea bothers him more than it should. As they leave together, his friends mention how quiet she's been all day. She seemed distracted, barely acknowledging them as she walked past. One friend jokes about whether she might actually like one of them instead. The comment irritates him far more than it has any right to. Tomoya sees the pattern now, clear as day. For 3 months, she's only been playing around with him. Nobody else gets this treatment. The question keeps nagging at him. Is there something real beneath her fake personality? He pushes the thought away immediately. That's stupid. The real Waka just sees him as entertainment, nothing more. He won't let her trick him. Meanwhile, she stands alone, her mind circling back to him. His kindness has confused her since they first met, and she can't seem to stop thinking about it. Finally, she spots her friends in the distance and walks toward them. From far away, Suzuko watches it carefully. Later that night, the group gathers in a cozy cafe, the atmosphere warm and relaxed. President Daiichi lifts his glass with a grin, thanking everyone for coming and suggesting a toast. Waka taps her drink against Tomoya's glass, the gentle clink surprising him for just a moment. While drinking, he admits to himself that regardless of whether she's being real or not, she's definitely cute. His friend leans over, wondering what she's drinking. She explains it's a non-alcoholic cocktail with strawberries and oranges, her voice light. He comments that her drink choice seems girly, and Tomoya can't help but remember how she devours entire bowls of noodles without any shame whatsoever. Suzuko tells President Daiichi that drinks feel especially nice after working hard. He laughs good-naturedly, saying their job wasn't really that difficult. She arches an eyebrow, asking if he plans to drink too much again, pointedly reminding him that someone needs to be sober enough to drive home. He waves away her concern dismissively. She sighs, noting that he always claims he won't overdo it but inevitably does anyway. One of Tomoya's friends suddenly observes that Suzuko and Daiichi-senpai look more like a couple every minute. She immediately gets flustered, denying it emphatically. The president also protests. He clarifies that they've been friends since childhood and have known each other for years. They've moved through life like siblings, he says. Suzuko adds dryly that she'd say they've been stuck with each other since elementary school, actually. The friend thinks it's nice to have friends of the opposite gender from when you're young. Another friend nods in agreement. Waka shrugs, saying it's not really that special. The first friend suddenly turns to Tomoya with a mischievous glint, pointing out that girls have never really been around him either. Tomoya shifts uncomfortably, admitting he once had a female friend from childhood. His friends look genuinely shocked, accusing him of hiding this from them all this time. They immediately demand proof. Reluctantly, Tomoya pulls out an old photo from his middle school graduation day. His friends crowd around eagerly, surprised by the girl in the picture. Questions pour out. How pretty she is, why he betrayed them, when can they get introductions? Waka stares at the picture silently as Tomoya explains that they slowly drifted apart during middle school. They went in different directions and eventually lost touch completely. Finding her now would be impossible, so this is just a memory from the past. His friend insists it still counts. Waka sighs quietly when she hears this. Tomoya feels something twist in his chest, watching her reaction. Suzuko observes Waka's struggle with careful, quiet attention before another friend calls her away. Waka walks over to join them. Tomoya's friends begin talking about how much everyone likes her, how everyone knows she's kind. But he knows the truth, the act behind that shining reputation. He watches her from across the room with new eyes, wondering how exhausting it must be to maintain that fake personality constantly. Eventually, he excuses himself and heads to the bathroom. The heavy atmosphere in the room seems to have affected his head, even though he hasn't been drinking at all. On his way, he spots her standing near what looks like a hallway. Not seeing that he's looking for the bathroom, she points him in the right direction, then he wonders what brings her to this quiet spot. She admits that being cheerful all the time makes her tired. She needs a break sometimes. He notices that even alcohol can't diminish how beautiful she looks. She agrees readily, admitting that acting cute makes everyone happy, so she does it. Inside, he struggles to understand this contradiction. How can someone so deliberately fake have these genuinely real moments too? She keeps talking, telling him about her terrible ability to handle alcohol and a chocolate wine incident that left her completely drunk. He warns her seriously not to drink anything strong. She agrees, and he turns to continue walking. But she stops him with a laugh, pointing out that he's actually heading toward the kitchen, not the bathroom, and redirects him the right way. Her laugh at his mistake sounds genuinely lovely. He wonders if he's tipsy or just noticing her differently, but she looks even more beautiful than before. Her friends return then, announcing that drinks are ready. She takes hers and sips it, but the flavor is surprisingly, unpleasantly bitter. Across the room at the bar, two other girls are talking. One complains she ordered wine but received a yogurt drink instead. Just then, a girl hurries to Waka's table, apologizing profusely. She got the wrong drinks by mistake, and the wine was meant for her. Shock freezes Waka in place. An hour passes before Waka's friends begin to notice something is seriously wrong. They crowd around her worriedly, asking if she's okay and urging her to drink some water. When they ask what happened, her friend tells them shakily that she accidentally drank someone else's wine. Tomoya remembers her mentioning earlier that she can't handle alcohol well, so he quickly walks over. One look at her flushed face tells him everything he needs to know. Her head is spinning badly now. As he watches with growing concern, she looks directly at him with unfocused eyes and mumbles words that don't make sense to anyone around them. Everyone exchanges confused, worried looks. Our lad realizes what's happening. She's clearly drunk and losing control fast, which means her real self is about to surface. That's not good at all. She slurs that she has no idea what's happening to her. Tomoya sees and suggests they leave immediately. He gently points out that she looks exhausted and needs to go home. He quickly grabs her bag and guides her toward the door with a firm but careful grip. His friends watch as he says goodbye hastily, explaining that he needs to help her get home safely. They wave as he ushers her away. Outside, she becomes even more unsteady, stumbling as he holds her upright. She protests weakly, insisting she was having fun and doesn't want to leave yet. He reminds her firmly that if they don't go now, everything might be revealed. When she asks what he means through the fog, he explains that her secret will become a serious problem if everyone finds out. But she is genuinely confused about what secret he is even talking about. A thought nags at him as they walk. Why does he feel obligated to keep helping her hide things? Even if everyone discovers her condition, it shouldn't really be his responsibility. Yet her weakened state, her innocent appearance, and her endearingly helpless behavior make him continue protecting her anyway. He He feels strangely drawn to how vulnerable she is right now. As they walk, she keeps swaying dangerously, her vision clearly blurred. He asks for directions to her place, offering to walk her home. She pushes back, wondering why they have to go home so soon when the night is still young. When he insists, her foggy gaze catches on a nearby hotel sign. Instead of giving him her address, she makes a strange and unexpected request. She wants to rest somewhere close by. Her unfocused eyes fix on the hotel. He is shocked but finds himself walking in with her anyway, unable to refuse. His shock is obvious as he turns to look at her in complete disbelief. Tomoya also lies down beside her, but she shifts too close for comfort. Waka notices and musing what the problem is, telling him to relax and move a little closer. His mind spins as he becomes hyper-aware of every small detail. Looking at her calm face, he thinks about how genuinely cute she is. He wonders if he can handle being this close without overthinking everything. A reckless voice in his head suggests that doing nothing would make him seem cowardly. Still, he hesitates, unsure of what she actually wants. Then reality cuts through his thoughts. Even in this quiet moment, she seems completely at ease next to him, trusting him without hesitation. That trust makes him pause. Whatever he does now matters. He breaks the silence by asking why she invited him here. Waka turns toward him, fully awake now, and asks what else it could mean. But instead of doing anything impulsive, she studies his expression as if waiting for him to understand. The moment stretches, filled with tension rather than action. He remains still, unsure whether to move forward or keep his distance, his thoughts caught between curiosity and restraint.
Here I am, know it's been a while. I was in denial about my love. Here I stand, I know I walked away.